Halloween is tomorrow, as you all know, meaning that Mike and Mo Halloween birthday rager you all been waiting for will finally take place, but not before we had an Old Dominion, what the fuck was it called? Old Dominion Fire 100 for something like, oh my god. I mean, what the fuck did I just watch on that last fucking lap? I mean, I understand why most people were, were comparing it to the spring hot Caca show we got in the spring, and I totally understand why some people changed the channel and just gave up on it, but I was personally enjoying that shit, and boy, did Fall Martinsville Old Dominion Fire 100, did way better than the Virginia Hot Caca Show 500 back in the spring. And this is one hell of an ending to my NASCAR Winston Cup season, because it's officially has been confirmed that it's going to be the last nice day overall a week from today. So the Sandy Ridge finale is going to happen a week from today, next Sunday. We thought it was going to be Friday, but we might do one last, casual, nice day on Friday, and then do Villains and Ultra, later that night, because we're going to do the this week's installments tomorrow. We're going to do that tomorrow. If I have time after I'm done eating and shit, after me and, Rose Buddy, my new girlfriend, Raizel Applebum, get done talking on the phone for the last time before she has to hit the hay at 10, then we're going to do the flash doubleheader of the Mike Skinner and Terry Labonte installment, but anyway, there's so much to talk about in this race. I mean, wow, there was more passing in this one than there was in that Virginia Hot Caca Show 500 back in the spring at my dad's new crib. I mean, because if y'all remember that reaction video, if you want to look at it, link in the description, me and my stepsister were shooting the bull during that, during that round of green flag pit stops in that event, and we were just acting like that it wasn't even nothing, that the TV was shut off or that it was on a different channel because of the fact that how bad that race was. This one was the exact opposite. I personally enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but it was way better than that Boar Fest we got in the spring. I mean, well, whenever it's a chase race, it's a far totally different breed than it is in the regular season. I mean, I know Austin had that brake rotor, could go out, and he hit the wall extremely hard, but he did the right thing. He saved himself from a concussion because the fact instead of backing in the wall with the back end, he actually hit with the fender first, which is the most intelligent thing to do, since, the back end has been, giving people concussions, like, Kurt Busch at Pocono in the summer, which, unfortunately, that was the last time we ever saw him drive in NASCAR, and especially in the Winston Cup Series, since he started in 2000 when he replaced some nobody named Chad. Got fired in Chad Little and got his first full-time season in 01. Alex Bowman got smacked the wall with the back end in the Dickies 500, which gave him a concussion, but luckily he's going to fully recover the race in the Checker Auto Parts 500 next week while we're doing the Sandy Ridge 2022 finale. But yeah, had Austin backed it in the fence, he probably would have had a concussion too, but he after seeing what happened to his soon-to-be ex-teammate, which I'm going to get to in a momentarily, he did the right thing by hitting it with the fender, because it's like lesser of the two evils, and you're lucky to get just a small minor injury if you hit with the front, And, BJ McLeod and Joey Logano were two more people that, fell a victim to crappy-ass parts, as Harvick said. I don't know who the third Ford was that caught fire with the crappy-ass parts, so someone could tell me in the comment section. That would be great. I know BJ and Joey caught fire, but I did not see the third Ford who caught fire. Now to the Reddit crash, another case of a concussion biting the dust. I mean, the leftovers from the Miami crash really played a full effect. Considering, I don't understand. I mean, with Bowman's situation, I did not understand how he knew he had a concussion after that race in Texas was happening, but yet Greg Ives made him stay out there and finish the damn race. And I mean, not that it was Bowman's fault, but not that Ives did anything wrong, but he just made a mistake saying, I should have called you in to call it a day. That's Ives is lucky considering, he's retiring from the crew chief position to take on a much more bigger role at Hendrick in 2023, giving it to Caitlin Vincey's husband, Blake Harris, who I was lucky to meet at MIS in 2019 when he worked for I can't remember who he was working with. I think he was still working for Front Row at the time, which he still is now, but I was working with Hendrix. So now I know to go to the 48 pit to find him at MIS next August and Phoenix next November. But, you know, Greg Ives is lucky that Bowman recovered because that was all a mistake on his part. But if Reddick knew he wasn't feeling right, this one I don't understand more than the whole Greg Ives leaving Bowman out there to keep racing after he knew he was banged up. I don't understand why Reddick knew he wasn't feeling right after that Homestead Miami crash. That probably is a concussion like protocol. I would hope not, but I have this bad feeling it is. But yet he went out there and raced anyway. And what's even worse than not only did he race anyway, but he added fuel to the fire by rear-ending someone, which was, so light, but also, good enough to the point where it made him worse. And then he had him say, fuck it, and pull it into the garage because he was feeling really, really bad. I thought, when I saw him in the garage, I thought the car broke. I thought it was a mechanical failure or the engine blew up or something. And they said it was medical related. Now, my second thought was, I thought he was sick. But nope, it was left over from Miami. And Kamikaze Games, I like you and everything, but I hope you're happy. Considering, you made your bed, now you gotta sleep in it. I understand why you don't like Reddick and everything, but come on, be better than that. I mean, stuff like that is what... Your grip with the Dylans and, Gregson and Herbs, as a fan of all four of those guys, doesn't even faze me. But stuff like that is really classless, and now, look what has happened. I mean, wow. See, when I was Kyle Larson's number one hater for so many years in the CGR 42 days, I hated his guts with the passion, but never in my life when I used to not like Jimmy because he won too much, or when I didn't like Gordon because my dad didn't like him for a random reason. I never wished injury on them. And that's when something like that happens, you got a true fan that hates a driver or a certain athlete would put their hate on hold. So that, considering if they did and just, brought injuries into it, that would be a classless thing to do. Say for example, if when Larson was in the 42 and I still hated him. Now, if he had a crash where he had gotten hurt, let's say for example, his 2016 wreck in the Napa Auto Parts 500 at California Speedway, had that been a concrete wall and he got hurt and I was happy about it, I probably would have getting my ass canceled for that shit. So... Therefore, Kamikaze, I'm a fan of your YouTube content and everything, but come on, man, you got to be better. But hopefully, Reddick is okay, considering even though we're not going to be teammates with them next year anyway. Now, if I was Kyle Busch, I honestly have to feel bad for Kyle Busch because fuck Joe Gibbs Racing and everything they stand for. I have not liked those guys since Tony Stewart and Bobby Labonte, the last real men and likable drivers, were racing for that team. My gripe for Joe Gibbs Racing started when they, treated Bobby Labonte the same way they treated Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch's true predecessor in the 18 because Yaley doesn't count, because this is what I'm going to get to. So Tony Stewart got superior equipment in 2005, winning the championship. Well, Bobby got, does the exact opposite. Blown engines, tire failures, crashes. I mean, originally, if you remember when he lost that 05 Coke 600, which probably should have been his true last win, he was painting green Madagascar colors for the movie. But then when the 11, before Denny Hamlin, was driven by the late, great Jason Leffler, DNQ'd the race in the FedEx freight car, FedEx as a whole still wanted to be in the race, so they changed Bobby Labonte's paint scheme from the green Interstate Batteries Madagascar scheme, considering Tony ran Madagascar paint scheme in the All-Star race the year before, so Bobby was supposed to do that the week after in the Coke 600. But since, they changed it from that paint scheme to the FedEx colors that Jason Leffler is supposed to run and all that shit, meaning the Madagascar scheme did not get run until Pocono. But yeah, I didn't like how they treated 11, 12-year-old me did not understand the full details of stuff like this. But even then, the 11, 12-year-old version of me didn't like how Gibbs treated him and, screwed him over for J.J. Yaley, which is part of why I never liked J.J. Yaley alone either. But then again, do I wish injury or harm on Yaley? No, because that would be a classless thing to do no matter how much you dislike or hate someone. Hell, I don't even like Cody Ware, and I hate Rick Ware, and anything of how slow they are and how they waste their head, how much, they of a waste of a charter they are, like of a, more of a somewhat competitive team that could use that to expand. But did you see me celebrating when he got hurt at Texas? No. I put my hate for him aside and hoped that he was all right. You see, but the thing is, Joe Gibbs Racing, started this trend of treating their drivers like absolute dog shit, but with Bobby Labonte in 0506, and they thought Yaley was going to be quote unquote the next Tony Stewart, and that shit didn't work, as you all know. But most people outside of me don't like him because of the fact that he decided to pit last second from the middle of the racetrack and take out Mark Martin at Charlotte, which cost Mark a chance at what probably would have been his last legitimate chance outside of 2009 with Hendrick at a championship. That was his last legitimate shot that he had to win a championship with Roush in the 6, But what do I know, right? Considering, that after Bobby Labonte, they screwed over numerous people. I mean, Kenseth was more associated with Roush, but let's not forget, for the new generation that associate Kenseth with Gibbs, Gibbs screwed over Kenseth for Eric Jones, and they wasted that screw job by doing the same thing to that Jones boy for Christopher Bell. And it's just, but besides those and the whole Kyle Busch getting screwed for the spoiled entitled grandson Silver Spoon. I mean, you want to talk about Austin and Ty being Silver Spoon. At least Austin and Ty are actually good people and are good with the fans. They're cool cats both on the track and off the track. And Austin and Ty have treated me like they're family members because of how big of fans I am, especially Austin, considering I have more money on his stuff, But, Ty Gibbs, considering, he's the one that door slammed us at Texas. I get it, you're upset at us because we accidentally came out and hit you coming out of our pit. But what we're supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? And then you go go retaliate on us, not to mention that when you almost, swung us into pit crew members and NASCAR officials working on Chris Busch's car. Now, luckily, Ty Dillon missed it, because imagine if Ty Dillon had hit those crew members, we wouldn't have gotten in trouble. No, we would not have gotten in trouble. Ty Gibbs would have gotten in trouble. And then yesterday proved why people don't like him. I get, people, it's not, I don't even dislike him or hate him. No, he was nothing but nice to me at MIS when I met him. But I'm not crazy about him when it comes to being on the track. On the track, he's the definition of reckless abandonment, considering after what we saw, what he did to his own teammate yesterday. Not to mention, speaking of Brandon Jones, they screwed him. They're screwing him over too. They're screwing him over in favor of who knows who's going to drive that 19 car next year, considering, he's going to Junior Motorsports where hopefully they'll treat him better. But if I was Brandon Jones next week at the Basha Supermarkets 200, I don't give a fuck if, my teammates race for a championship, or if he gets mad, or the grandpa gets mad. I'm just junking his shit to make sure he doesn't win the championship. As far as I can say, I'm not driving for those assholes next year. This is part of why I've disliked Joe Gibbs Racing more and more ever since, screwing over Bobby Labonte, screwing over Kenseth, then Eric Jones, now Kyle Busch and Brandon Jones, I mean, and then they didn't screw over Tony because Tony left on his own, because Tony's reasoning was not because of all this stuff. It's because he did not want to drive Toyota. He wanted, for the driver, Tony Stewart wanted to stay loyal to General Motors. The owner, Tony Stewart, probably doesn't care what manufacturer, he drives or he owns or whatever. But anyway, I'm talking too much about, how these drivers and teams, do all these good and bad shit on and off the track. But anyway, let's talk about the race. I mean, I know in the spring, the Virginia 500, you did not see no competitive racing, no green flag passes, except for doing green flag pit stops, but this one was much better. There was passing there was more passing. We had battles for the lead, battles for 5th, battles for 10th, battles for 25th, even battles for 30th. There was battles everywhere. Now, I know Austin had his brake rotor go out, but I don't know what the hell happened to Ty. I don't know what happened to him. So if someone could fill me in what happened to Ty, the 42, he dropped out of the race, that'd be great, because NBC never showed it or mentioned it like they did his brother. And the fact that, Brendan Keeler, so when the 23 went a lap down, Brendan Keeler made a joke saying Jesus goes a lap down after, Ty Gibbs' disturbing comments yesterday. And Bubba Wallace, on the other hand, totally understandable why he got the most boos, even more than Ty Gibbs or Kyle Busch, because, they were still mad at him. I mean, it's bad enough that Bubba haters, the racists and the boomers and Bubba haters in general are that classless, but the Martinsville fans are even more classless, because I heard they were throwing shit at Ty Gibbs yesterday. I mean, I could understand booing him and not liking him, but it's classless for you to throw shit on the track, even if it's NASCAR's most hated driver. Considering, I hope they got their, season passes, from Martinsville revoked or whatever, after that. I heard they were throwing shit on the track too, but I didn't show it or mention it on TV. But, Martinsville fans, fans that, that are from, tracks that are mostly in the South, they're like the definition of classless. Between Martinsville, Darlington, and Talladega, the three tracks have the most classless fans when it comes to, supporting the local, Winston Cup, Busch Series or Craftsman Truck track. I mean, it's why I choose not to go. I mean, well, I'll be lucky if me and my dad go to Richmond, as long as my sister's still there with her husband deployed to the military, wherever he goes. I'll be lucky if we go to Richmond and we don't run into those kind of fans. As long as we don't go to Martinsville or Talladega or Darlington, where there can be a lot of classless, even racist fans, I'm good, considering, and I thought there was going to be a fight after the race today, but after, based on what Chastain did, that video game move, and his history with Denny, but shockingly, no. Denny was calm and collected. But yeah, let's talk about that move by Chastain. Considering, I didn't think he was gonna do that. I didn't think that somebody would try something like that. He did a Carl Edwards 2008 Banquet 400, but unlike Carl, it worked for Chastain by inches. Considering how I used to hate him and Busch and Craftsman. I mean, to be fair, he was dirty in 2019 too, but back then everybody, including myself, loved him because, him failing post-race inspection and getting the win taken away. I don't remember the track it was. Was it Iowa or Gateway, something like that? I think it might have been Iowa. He had the win taken away because he failed post-race inspection. Everybody was upset. Everybody loved him. He was an up-and-comer and was like a young, bright future star. But then he won a Gateway the next week and past inspection made up for it. And then all those same people, including myself, turned on him in 2020 when he was dirty. I mean, he's even dirty in Winston Cup too, but except the only reason why he's grown on me compared to those days is because he's come to Trackhouse, has done very, very well, and I was going to be racing for a Winston Cup championship in Phoenix a week from today, even though I'm going to be recording my Sandy Ridge finale that day, but for 2022. But wow, I mean, that was probably the craziest thing I've ever seen in NASCAR history, and in the history of the Chase era alone. It's like, I mean, I'm trying to think what else I got. I mean, Denny Hamlin put on a clinic in the opening two stages. He's the only Joe Gibbs driver of today that I like because of how nice he was to me at MIS and the fact that I got to meet his girlfriend Jordan, who I've been friends on social media for years, and I met their oldest child in Taylor, who was nice to me and was nice enough to take a picture of it with me too. So that's something I'll always be thankful be thankful to Denny Hamlin for being nice to me, and the fact that his family treated me like royalty is like, wow. I mean, I thought he had the car to beat today, but of course, the pit crew fucking chokes, and if he chokes in the Checker Auto Parts 500 while I'm out recording my Sandy Ridge 2022 finale, I won't be surprised. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, whether you love him or hate him, or whether he wins the championship or not. There's no denying it, but I will admit, even though I do like him now, considering I hated him for so many years as a fan of Kyle Petty and Austin Dillon, he does have a douchey attitude, considering, people want to compare him to Mark Martin as the best Winston Cup history to never win the championship. At least Mark had class. I mean, whether you like Denny or not, I mean, he's the exact opposite of what Mark was. Considering, Mark Martin would not, disallow the winner from doing a burnout just because, the winner dumped him for the win, like in this race a year ago, where it was the Halloween Massacre. Go check that video out, link it in the description, that reaction video I did. But, we had cars, hitting the wall, cars spitting out, we had some like semi-excitement. Overall, much better than the hot Caca show we got in the spring in the Virginia 500. So this was my last race of the season. What better way to conclude my last Winston Cup season? Because it's going to be 70 degrees in my area tomorrow at their Sandy Ridge finale. Starting next Monday and beyond, The sunset is going to be at like 5:30, and it's going to be off to the cold weather. Before you know it, season 2 of Winter Wonderland will be here. And then, the never-before-seen content will be coming. The return of dinners with, Debi and Abbi Sorg and their family. Subscribe to them. Links are in the description. Pretty soon, I might be doing some projects with my family in this house that you might be seeing. Let me show you something. I'm going to my mom's closet here. And my mom is part of it. See the San Antonio material? I want to use these as my bed curtains. That we were trying to do bed curtains in the beginning. We moved here in 2015 in all black, but we couldn't find material. But this would be perfect. This winter I might bring that to you with my mom. Considering I always wanted bed curtains. Since we had to do wannabe bed curtains on Lenore and Sandhurst with blankets to make a fake fort when I had bunk beds. I slept on the bottom because when I was sleeping on the top in the beginning, I'd get scared. I have nightmares because of it, especially about Uka Uka and Crash 3. And the other YouTube video I was considering doing with a family member was with my grandfather. I have 2 Earnhardt pictures from my childhood. Earnhardt Sr. in his cockpit, when he had the black goggles with the open face on before switching to the white ones. In 01 when he was killed, where his son Senior and Junior flip-flop goggles, colored goggles, in 01, where Senior went from black goggles to white goggles, and Junior went from white goggles to black goggles. So I have a picture when Senior had the black goggles that was hanging up in my office on Sandhurst that I want to hang up. And below the Dale Senior and Junior hoods. And I think I have an Earnhardt versus Earnhardt frame from the 2001 Bud Shooter that my grandfather's buddy Steve Lucky, got me months after Dale was killed, my first year watching NASCAR. Maybe it might have been the year after, I don't fucking remember. But I'm gonna hang those up, and I think the reason I'm gonna do a YouTube video on that my grandfather, because I think he would like that. I did the beginning of the Kyle Busch to RCR announcement video with my grandmother to make her happy because she was a Kyle Busch fan. So why not make my grandfather happy too by doing a video with him, and I can showcase my outro to him. So therefore, I will see you all later on tonight for the Welcome to Flash doubleheader. So the Mike Skinner and Terry Labonte installment. I know my girlfriend goes to bed at 10 o'clock, so therefore I might do it after that. But right now, I'm going to go eat. And for the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, crazy season. It was, full of frustration, full of drama, full of, stupid shit happening and, injuries and whatnot. But probably the craziest and exciting year in a long time. Hopefully next year will be better, considering this coming Saturday is my last Busch race of the season, rightfully so. This will be my first Busch race in MIS in August. When I went in person. Probably be my last one too. And next year I'll be returning to the Craftsman Truck Series for nostalgia purposes to cheer on Zane Smith and possibly John Arnold Nemechek, depending on where he goes, since KBM is switching from Toyota to Chevy with KFB going to RCR. So therefore, I would do the outro now, considering normally I do it in my reaction videos, but we still have the Flash doubleheader because I want to make sure I watch the Halloween episode and before Halloween, as a doubleheader, the Terry Labonte installment, because it would make sense for me to watch it after Halloween, to fit. But anyway, I will see you all later on tonight, for the Flash doubleheader reaction video for the Mike Skinner and Terry Labonte installment. Congrats to Christopher Bell on a walk-off win, another walk-off win. Everybody in the Final Four is gonna be under 30-some years old, so it's gonna be fun to see. It's anybody's championship, even though I'm not gonna be watching. So therefore, I will see you guys next year for more Winston Cup race reactions, and I will see you all later on tonight for the Welcome to Flash doubleheader reaction video for the Terry Labonte and Mike Skinner installment. Time to go eat.